Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a chit chat video. It's a story time. I know I haven't done a story time in a long time, and I did have someone request it, so I'm going to go ahead and do a story time. All right guys, don't forget the goal is 1,000 subscribers. We're moving along. Let's get it going. If you haven't already and you do like my content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. What are you waiting for? Don't you want to see me? Come watch me. Come learn me. Yeah. Okay, so I'll give y'all a couple seconds. Time's a ticking. All right, that's long enough. All right, and hello to all of my new subscribers. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Hello to all of my returning subscribers. You guys are really appreciated. So as in the title, today's video is going to be a story time about me and my ex-best friend or snake friend. And before I start this video, let me just tell you guys, my mom always told me, God rest her soul, don't trust every female. And I was really naive to that. Everybody is not your friend. Some people actually envy you. Or if they don't envy you, they want what you have, like your man. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that that was all the way the case, but it seems that way. And you guys will see that once I get into the story. So if you guys would like to hear my little story time, then stay tuned. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you what happened. Okay? Stay put. All right, guys, I see that you're back and you would like to hear my story time. So let me go ahead and jump right into it. So this friend was an old friend. We knew each other back in high school. So we kind of like lived right across the street from each other for a while. And we're just going to call this friend Carla. Carla knows that her name is not Carla, but we're going to call her Carla, okay? So Carla lived right across the street from me. Like I said before, we went to school together. We lost touch after I moved out of the neighborhood. But once I moved back to my hometown, then we ran into each other again. So that's how we ended up linking back up. So me and Carla was like real tight. She introduced me to my kid's father. That's who I have the 3 kids with. And she was talking to his best friend. That was the guy that broke in my house. If you guys don't know, go back and listen to my story time videos about my house getting broken into, and then you'll know who I'm talking about. Okay, so my kid's father and this other guy was best friends. So naturally, she's gonna go ahead and introduce me to my kid's father. Now, my kid's father had just gotten out of jail for something. I'm not even gonna go into that. But she was like, hey, you wanna come go with me to his house? He just got out, da-da-da-da-da. So, and I mind you, at this time, you guys, I was like 19. I was 19. Okay, so I was 19. I'm 36 right now, just so y'all know how long ago it was. So I was 19. I had already had a child. I was a teen mom, so I had a little boy. He was like 2 years old. Okay, so just to get that out the way. So we go over to his house. He opens the door. I'm like, oh, okay, he's cute, whatever, right? He reminded me like of a young Chris Brown. So I was like, oh, he's cute. So my friend introduced us or whatever. We talked at the car and then we exchanged numbers. So we ended up all hanging out all the time. So that's how me and my kid's father ended up hooking up together. So, okay, so I would have like these little gatherings at my apartment because I ended up getting my own apartment. And my best friend would always come over. Her boyfriend would always come over. And my kid's father would always come over. So we just decided, because I was going through some stuff with my ex stalking me and doing all kind of stuff to me. So she was like, well, you know, we talked about it. We should move in together. So I was like, yeah, we should move in together. But let me rewind for a minute. So me and my kid's father was talking for a while. I ended up getting pregnant by him. So my best friend had known that I had gotten, because she went with me or whatever, and I told her, hey, I'm pregnant or whatever, and she was like, oh, that's great, da 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 da. So right now she's like, oh yeah, that's great, girl, congratulations, da 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 da. And then I was like, I don't know how he's gonna feel about that. But she was like, yeah, you should tell him da 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 da. So I was like, okay. So I told him I was pregnant, and he was like, oh, is it your ex? And I'm like, what? Like, no, I've only been with you. So no, it's not my exes. I've only been with you. So that kind of offended me low key, but I was like, whatever. And my kid's mother started saying the same thing. So the rumor was in my hometown that the baby was not his, it was by my ex. So I was kind of taken back by that, because I'm far from a hoe. Like, I was never like that. I was never promiscuous. So I was like, why does everybody keep saying this? I'm telling my best friend, like, hey, why is everybody saying this? She like, girl, don't listen to them, da 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 da, like, oh, whatever, da 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 da. So I'm like, okay, whatever. When a baby's born, I'll give you a DNA test and shut everybody up. So I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit. So during the period that me and my best friend was living together, my kid's father and my kid's father best friend, who was her boyfriend at the time, was always at my apartment. Like, we all hung out together all the time, because none of them had their own apartment, just me. So with her living there, naturally, he's going to come over, everybody's going to hang out or whatever. So we all kind of did that on a daily basis. Like, we was all just hanging out. Everything was fun. I would notice like little stuff. So one day, my best friend's boyfriend called. Now that's my kid's father best friend, but my best friend was dating him. So her boyfriend called me on the phone and was like, hey, do you know what's going on? So I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, I'm uncomfortable with my girl feeding your boyfriend, who was his best friend at the time, food out of her hand to his mouth. And I was like, what? Where'd you get that from? She did that? And he was like, yeah. He's like, we all went out, to eat, and she was feeding him. So I was like, that's weird. So I told her what he said, and she kind of downplayed it. And her being my best friend, I believed her. I was just like, okay, whatever. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. So they fell out for a minute. So then I asked him about it, and he was like, oh, no, it wasn't like that. It was on some friendly stuff. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. That's kind of disrespectful. But I still let it go. So now his best friend wasn't coming over as much, because he was into it with my best friend. So it was kind of just the three of us for a minute. It was my kid's father and my best friend always at the apartment. So I started noticing little stuff. It started making me look for stuff. So I was just noticed that he was like right up under her all the time. And I found that very strange. But I was like, whatever. She wouldn't do that to me. That's my best friend. So now I'm starting to show, fast forward. My stomach's starting to grow. I'm starting to get bigger. Now I'm really showing, right? So he ended up going back to jail over a traffic violation, because he was already on probation. So he ended up doing like 4 months or something like that. So now it's just me and my best friend at the apartment. So everything was cool at first, and then I started noticing her start acting weird. Like, it was just the weird, like, she started getting real funny style, and I don't like that flip-flop stuff. Like, I don't like that. So one night, my son, matter of fact, it was my birthday. I was 7.5 months pregnant, and my son had asthma. My older son had asthma real bad. And he was like 2.5, 3 years old at this time. He was like 3. So he wasn't feeling good. So I come home, it's late, because I just left my sister's house, and there was a big ordeal over there. I don't even gonna get into that. So I came back home early. Now, I'm trying to get my son to sleep, because he's not feeling well. I gave him a breathing treatment. I gave him some medicine, but he was still kind of wheezy. And I put him to sleep. He had just barely shut his eyes. So my best friend comes in from the club. It's her, 2 other chicks, and some guy. And they were being hecka loud, hecka rude. So I go in there and say, hey, you guys, can you keep it down? My son is sleeping. He's not feeling well, and I'm really, really tired. So one of the guys that was there was like, oh, shut the door. We gonna do what we want, da 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 da. So I said, if you're not gonna listen, you can get the hell out of my apartment. Not in those words. I actually cursed at him. So my best friend was like, just be quiet, like, be quiet. So I go back in the room, I lay back down. That was strike 1. So now I'm hearing them louder. So I get back up again. I go in the room, I said, hey, and our rooms are right by each other. So it's not like, and the walls are thin in apartments, as you guys know. It's a vape, guys. No marijuana, none of that. This is a vape. I gotta puff this because this kind of get my nerves irritated. Okay, so back to the story. So I'll go in there again and I'm like, you know, I've already asked you guys to keep it down. I'm gonna have to ask you guys to leave. So the girls was quiet, but this one guy, I don't know what his issue was, he started coming at me crazy. So now I'm like, get the fuck out of my apartment now. Like, get up right now. Get the hell out of my apartment. So he tries to slam the door. I open the door back. Now, mind you, my stomach is out to here. Okay. Now my son done woke up and he's crying. So now I'm all the way pissed. And I'm throwing everybody out. I don't care. Get the hell out. Get out. Get out. So they're exiting. They're being loud. They're cursing. Da-da-da-da-da. So at this point, I'm irritated with my best friend. Like, I'm overly irritated. So I ended up taking my son to the hospital. They kept him. He had severe asthma. So I was always at the hospital. So he ended up staying at the hospital for like 5 days. So when I finally got him home and got back to my room, my best friend was kind of avoiding me. But eventually she was like, you know, I'm sorry about what happened. Da, 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 da. So I just let that be what it was. And I said, look, I don't mind you having people coming over here. But if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm sitting here telling you my child is sick and I'm sleepy, then, you know, be respectful and keep it down. So she was like, yeah, I'm sorry. That will never happen again. Da, 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 da. Now, mind you, one of the girls that was in the room is now somebody, I wouldn't say enemy because I don't beef with people, but she's very wishy-washy. And another one of my friends had an issue with her too. And that'll be on another story time because I don't even want to get into that because the rabbit hole goes really deep. Anyways, so now fast forward, my best friend, she wasn't paying her part of the bills and the rent. So I started getting suspicious, like, what's going on? She was like, oh, I'll get it to you next week. I'll get it to you next week. Now, mind you, I'm out of work right now. I'm very freaking pregnant. I'm almost due. I'm like 37 weeks, like belly, like pregnant. Okay. Now I didn't catch it. I developed bronchitis. So I had a really bad infection and I couldn't really breathe that well. I was kind of restless. I was having Braxton Hicks contractions. So, you know, toward that time I was kind of not feeling good and it was like off and on. So I was like, hey, you know what's going on? She finally admitted to me that she lost her job. So I'm like, now you're 2 months behind and hadn't paid for anything. Literally, she's living off of me and I'm on a fixed income with a child and one on the way. So, and my kid's father was about to get out of jail. So I'm like, okay, you know, like, so when were you going to tell me this? So she's mad. She's like, oh, I don't have to tell you anything, da, 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 da. So I'm like, no, you actually do. Because now I'm taking care of you and I can't afford that. I was buying food. I paid all the bills. I paid the rent, like everything. So I'm like, no, I can rent this room out because I had someone from my church that needed a place to stay. So I was like, okay. So I gave her notice to leave. I was like, look, I said, no hard feelings, but I need help. I'm not working right now. I need help. So I'm going to go ahead and rent the room out to somebody from my church that needs the help. So she was already feeling salty about that. So now fast forward, my kid's father is released from jail. Now the day that he was released from jail, the person I was going to rent the room out to, we're at Walmart getting stuff for the baby. So when I get back, she's like, oh, you know, I'm not going to give up his name. I'm going to call him Mason. Mason got out of jail. He's looking for you. So I'm like, oh, well, where is he? Now what she didn't tell me was that she had a previous conversation with Mason and was making up all kind of lies about me. So when Mason finally pulls up, he's angry at me. And I'm like, what's going on? So I pull him in a room and I know she heard us because the walls are very thin. So he was like, what were you doing when I was in jail? I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, Carla told me, you know, you were cheating on me and you were prostituting yourself and, you know, your ex was over here and you guys were sleeping together. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? Like, me? Me. You got to be kidding me. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go get Carla. Let me see what Carla got to say. So when I went in the hallway and knocked on her door, she had already left. I know she heard us, and I think that's why she left. So she left or whatever. She didn't come back until the next day. So I'm fuming. I am literally fuming. So I leave one day. I go to the grocery store. Mason was still at the house. When I get back, they're in the kitchen sitting at my table talking about me. So I had already heard some of the stuff that they were saying. So now I'm all the way pissed. Like, I'm 38 and a half weeks pregnant. I'm freaking due. I'm pissed off. And she only had like 3 or 4 days left before her notice was up, and she had to get out of my place. So she was talking. She was doing something. I said, first of all, you're not going to talk about me in my house, and you could leave right now. I didn't even have to give you a courtesy. Like, you could get out right now. You don't have no mail coming here. You can't even prove that you had mail coming here. I just could have said, you know, hey, I just let her stay with me to get on her feet for a couple days. So don't do that. And I said, stop lying on me. And I confronted her with everything. And she was like, oh, that did happen. That did happen. I'm like, so you're going to sit in my face and you're going to lie in my face. So then I start thinking, what is her motive to lie on me? Like, it dawned on me all the stuff that was going on. So now I'm thinking they're sleeping together. So another day go by. She didn't come back. She came back the next day again. So I don't know where I went. I think I went somewhere. I went to the doctor. So I had a doctor's appointment. I come back. Her room door is locked. I'm calling Mason. He not saying nothing. So I look in my room. He not there. I look in the bathroom. He not there. I look in the kitchen, living room. He's not there. So I knock on her door. Doo, 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 doo. Nobody. Doo, 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 doo. Harder. Mason opens the door. I said, what the are you doing in here? And he's like, oh, we were just talking. I'm like, you didn't hear me calling you? And why is the door locked? So that automatically was like red flags, like ding, 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 ding. So I'm like, I get it. That's why she was making up all this stuff. Because y'all messing around. So she leaves. She jets out. She leaves. And she comes back later on that night. Now, by this time, my boyfriend, my baby daddy, best friend is over. And they had already broken up. So it's him, me, my son, and my baby daddy's best friend. We're all just sitting there. And he's like, oh, what's going on? So I kind of explained it, but I went to go lay down because I was just at the ER earlier that day. I could not breathe that well. Like, I had bronchitis really, really bad. My chest was congested. I was contracting. Like, it was just all bad. So I'm laying down in the back room on my bed with my son, and I'm trying to fall asleep, but I had to kind of sit propped up. So I hear her come in, and I hear what she's saying. I don't know if she thought I was gone or what, but she was like, oh, let me tell you what triggered her. So after that, after she left, when I confronted them in the room with the door locked, I said, enough is enough. You had 2 days left. I threw all her stuff outside and put it on the porch. You got to go now. So when she got back, she saw all her stuff outside. So she like, where's she at? I said, I'm back here. So I get up with my blanket and I go to the living room. She jets out the door, go downstairs. 15 minutes later, she comes back with her mom. Okay, now, her mom, big, masculine, burly female, like, okay. So y'all need both of y'all for little old pregnant me. So I was like, okay. Now, this is how everything came out, y'all. Hold on, let me put this because it's about to get real deep. Okay. So now the mom walks in. I'm standing there with a blanket. And my kid's father and his best friend is on the side of me like this. So she walks in, she walks right into my face, and she like, you can't throw my daughter's stuff out, da-da-da-da-da. So I smacks her hand out of my face. So then Mason comes over and gets between us. I said, no, Mason, you can move. Because if she hits me, she's going to jail. Everything on me is going to hurt. So Carla was like, oh, mom, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I said, Carla, you a coward. I said, you have to go get your mama to fight your battles. Her mom chimes in and says, your mom's a crackhead. And I'll whoop your mom's ass. So I'm like, if I knew where my mom was, trust and believe, I saw my mom and what she's capable of. Baby, you wouldn't do nothing. But I don't need my mom to fight my battles for me, pregnant and all. So, Mason's like, dang, don't say that. That's wrong. That's wrong. Da-da-da-da-da. So, Mason's best friend was like laughing. He was like, oh no, I put my money on Candy's mom. I put my money on Candy's mom. And I found that disrespectful because this is not a game. So everything started coming out. She like, Mason, Carla's like, Mason, you told me you didn't like her. You said this, you said that, you said this. You was begging to eat my, you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at both of them. I said, I knew it. But she was like, but I didn't do it. Da-da-da-da-da. I didn't do it. So now I'm like, you're lying. So I was like, okay, I got you. I'm cool on both of y'all, by the way. So I said, you still getting out my apartment today. You're not bringing that stuff back in here. So her mom's like, oh, you want to throw my daughter's stuff out? So she tries to sweep past me. And I mind you, my son's in the back room on the bed asleep. She goes to my closet and she goes to the closet and she starts grabbing my stuff off the hangers. So I grab my stuff back out of her hand. So she tries to shove me and I pushed her like boom. So Mason and his best friend runs in there like, nah, y'all not about to do that. She pregnant. So I was like, she was like, oh, you could rush past them. They're not that strong. I said, girl, you're not even worth me losing my child, first of all. Secondly, I'm out of breath now. Like, I'm like breathing so hard because I have bronchitis and I'm fighting with this mammal. So I'm like, oh my God, like, is this really happening? So I'm pissed at Mason. I'm pissed at Carla. And now I got this linebacker in my room trying to take my things. So finally they get the linebacker out of my room. God forgive me. No, I'm not even going to say that, y'all. That was just my state of mind. That's what I was thinking at the time. So she comes out of my room and they're like, look, you guys got to leave. Da-da-da-da-da. She's calling the cops. Da-da-da-da-da. So they taking her stuff off the front porch. They go down there. So right after they leave, I confront Mason. And I'm like, look, we are done, buddy. Like, I know he swore to Jesus that he never slept with her. And I said, even if y'all didn't sleep together, which I highly doubt, why are y'all talking about me? That's some snake-ish. Like, I'm not with all that. So I was like, done with him, right? So everybody leaves. The next day, I changed the locks on my door. Whatever she left behind was then bagged up and thrown into the trash can. Except she left something big, her bed, that they had to come get. So I was like, she pulls up unannounced to my apartment with her mama, her sister, two of her brothers, and her daddy. And I'm there by myself again. So she opens the door. No, she didn't open the door. She knocked. I opened the door. So her dad walks in first, and then she's walking in last. Oh, I'm just here to get my stuff. So she goes to the back. Now I'll go to the back, make sure they ain't taking my stuff. So I lock my door. And I lock the bathroom door and I go back to the kitchen because I'm washing dishes. So, and I mind you, this was 2 days before my due date. So now I'm in the kitchen washing. So I see them carrying the stuff down. And then I went in my room. I don't know what I did in my room. I went in my room to get something. When I come out, she's coming out the kitchen with a half a gallon, not even half, this much milk in a milk carton. So I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, you want to be petty, huh? Okay. Whatever. So she takes her milk. She leaves, right? Last I've heard of her for a minute. So I was like, okay. So boom. A day later, I go into labor. Mason comes over that night and he's like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let her say that, but I swear I didn't sleep with her. Da, 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 da. So he's pleading the fifth. He's begging me. He's on his knees crying. So I was like, whatever. I still had an attitude, but I was like, whatever. So I try to go to sleep. My water breaks. It's like, I didn't know what it was at first because with my first pregnancy, they broke my water at the hospital. So I'm laying in the bed and I'm like, dang, what is that wet? So I go to the bathroom. I changed my underwear. I put new ones on. I just thought pregnant, weak bladder, coughing, pee. It just made sense. So I go back. I lay back down. a little sprinkle come out again. I'm like, what is that? I go back to the bathroom, clean myself up, change my underwear again, go back to bed. Now the third time, I'm like, okay, let me see what this is. So I get up, I go to the bathroom, and now I'm just standing over the toilet like this, guys. I'm like squatting and I'm looking down. And I'm like, let me see what this is. So I saw like some water like gush out like, shh. I'm like, what the hell is that? And it had like mucus in it. So I'm like, oh, maybe this is my mucus plug. So I was like, okay, let me see if it stops. So I put a pad on, I put some underwear on, I lay back down. Now it's dripping down my leg. I'm like, okay, that's definitely my water. So I wake up Mason, I'm like, hey, Mason, my water broke. So he's like, oh, you're going to have the baby. Let me call my mom to take us, right? Because, oh, wait, let me rewind. So the day after Carla left, I moved in the girl from my church, who we ended up being really close friends. So I moved her in. She gave me first month's rent and a small security deposit. Cool. So now she's occupying that room, but she was at work. So he calls his mom, and his mom comes to pick me up. I had to let her take my son, my baby, to her house because I couldn't bring him to the hospital. So Mason's brother got arrested. So he was babysitting for me while me, Mason, and his mom went to the hospital. So once we got there, I left a message on my phone for my roommate, like, you know, anybody that called, like, hey, I'm in labor, I'm at such and such hospital. If you need to reach me, you can call me. So they ended up keeping me there because I was indeed, it was my water bag, and then they wanted to induce me, all that good stuff. So that's going to be a different story time. So boom, I have my son, because you know how they keep you for like 24 to 48 hours. So Mason goes home during my stay at the hospital for a minute. Now, he didn't tell me that Carla came by there. So when I get home, I'm like, hey, have you saw, I had like a perfume bottle and some other stuff on my dresser. And he's like, oh, Carla came by and she said, you have some of her stuff. So I let her in the room. And I'm like, what? Why didn't you tell me this? Why would you let her in my apartment while I'm in the hospital with our son? Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, I was really, really pissed. So he's like, oh, she took her red jacket and she said that perfume was hers. I said, no, that perfume was mine. So now I'm back angry again. And I'm like, you need to get out. You just need to leave. Like, I don't want to deal with you no more. Like, get out, basically. So he was starting to say, well, over time. Okay, so let me rewind a little bit. So I get out the hospital. I come back home. We had that little incident. Okay, that blows over. He comes back eventually after like a week or so. He comes back or whatever. We were doing okay for a little bit. And then he started questioning the rumor that the baby wasn't his. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Do you want a DNA test? Because I can definitely give you one. Like, I have no problem with that. My vagina, I know who's been in it and who ain't been in it. So he was like, no, you know, everybody's telling me it's not my baby. Come to find out, Carla was spreading that rumor, saying that the baby was not yours. You're stupid for believing that, da, 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 da. So now I'm mad and I'm like, you know what? Let me nip this in the bud. Let's go get a DNA test. But you're paying for it because I know who my kid's father is. So he didn't end up wanting to pay for anything. His mom started saying it. Everybody basically was saying the child was not his. Now, fast forward, his brother passes away. God rest his soul. My baby's just still an infant. And we went to the funeral. Everybody from his hometown, he's from Pasadena, said, dang, your son looks just like you. He's a splitting image of you. They was comparing his baby pictures, look identical. Identical. My son looks like his dad right now. So all of that stuff was washed to the side, and he never apologized. Never. He never apologized at all. It was like he just forgot about it. Whatever. So me and Carla, we never spoke. After that, some stuff did happen where it was a rumor that she wanted to fight me because I was saying that she slept with my kid's father, which you did. Prove me wrong. So she was like, you know, wanting to fight or whatever. Nothing ever really came of it. She didn't fight me. I ran into her at the beauty supply store. And that was it. I'm grown. Like, you know, that stuff, 19, 20, early 20s, whatever. But I'm a grown woman and I handle my stuff differently. I move different. Like, I'm 36. I'm trying to start a business. I got all this stuff going on. I ain't got time for all of that. So that was my story time, you guys. Let me know in the comment section if you think Carla slept with Mason, because I believe they did. Period. And Mason was a cheater. So I believe that Carla slept with him. There was no reason for all of that. Moral of the story, be careful who you call your friend. Be careful who you call your best friend. Because snakes don't hiss anymore. They call you best friend. They call you sister. They call you cousin. They call you all kind of stuff. So that don't mean nothing to me. And now I see what my mom was talking about. And I actually changed my path of friendship, because right now, everybody's cut off. I had another best friend after that. I got a lot of love for her. That's like my sister. You know, we're not talking right now for petty reasons, you know, but toxicity for me is I steer clear of it, because I'm in a space where I only want positivity in my life. I only want people that's going to lift me up and not tear me down. And if I'm trying to help you, I expect you to do the same for me and respect me and love me like I love you. So, and I'm a good friend. I know I am. I'm a good friend. So hopefully one day, I mean, if God tells me so, to reconcile that, I will. But until then, because I didn't listen to God the first time, you know, because my heart is so freaking big, and I have a soft spot for her. Like, I look at her like she's my sister. So, and her mother was like my mother even after my mom passed away. And her mom is passed away now too. So, you know, it kind of makes me sad. Like, I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I get sad, like, when I think about that, but nothing I can do about it until God directs me otherwise. Anyways, you guys, I do appreciate you watching the video. Turn that post notification bell on so that you guys can be notified every time I upload a new video to my channel. Before I go, let me show you my outfit. If you guys haven't saw any of my try-on hauls, you guys need to go check them out. See? Ooh, and it got the little split at the bottom. I'm going to show y'all the bottom, right? I did review this hair too. I'll leave those links in the description box if you guys want to go watch. And the bottom, I don't know if y'all can see that. Whoop. That booty, honey. That booty. Okay. See? Got a little split. I think I got these on backward, but y'all get the point. Anyways, I love you guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye.